of the sort of armory that the Americans have. In Palestine, we see suicide bombers. Why? Because the ordinary Palestinians, all they have to defend themselves against Israeli F-16 fighter jets, Apache helicopter gunships, are stoned. If you don't want suicide bombers, give the Palestinians F-16. If you don't want the Iraqis to be suicide bombers, give them tanks. Give them the weapons they need to fight their enemy. But how dare you say that Saddam Hussein was keeping a list? Hold on, I agree.
I wouldn't mind.
What is your prejudice?
I wouldn't mind if the Iraq people were killing only the invaders, as Americans of course.
He wouldn't mind. He wouldn't mind
that.
He wouldn't mind. He says he wouldn't mind if the Iraqis were just killing the invaders. Sir, in every conflict where anarchy reigns, the people implode against themselves. You look to Palestine, where you had the Fatah Party, but then you have Hamas. Hamas democratically won the election. Hold on, so where you going? Sir, before you go, let me give you this point. Not on Hamas or a Muslim or Palestine, but about Africa. In South Africa, we are the Zulu. We are the Kata. We are the ANC. They were butchering each other, vying for power. Now, the West claims, not the West, white South Africa claims that look at what will happen if you give black people their independence. They will kill each other. They said there will be anarchy, there will be mayhem, there will be mass murder. Nelson Mandela came to power in 1994, and we heard about the internal civil war that took place prior to Mandela seizing power. Where are the Zulus now? In Vietnam, we had Ho Chi Minh's forces in the north fighting against the south. These are civil wars, sir. People said about Vietnam, if Ho Chi Minh's forces defeated the south, there would be anarchy. As soon as the north defeated the south, there was calm. So, sir, it is inevitable in any conflict. If you go to Ireland, weren't the Irish killing each other? Weren't they killing and butchering and murdering each other for over 30 years? Sir, look at the nature of conflict. Once you spark the flame, it ignites itself. In Pakistan, the Pakistanis killing Pakistanis. Where you be in the Congo? Wherever you go, where are you from, sir? I'm from Uganda. You're a fine one to talk to. Fine one. You have Vincent Otti. You have Joseph Kanye. They are holy people fighting against Museveni and your government. How dare you stand up and say Muslims are fighting each other? What are you smoking and where can I buy some? But they are the Muslims who are killing each other. No, we are all killing each other. Man is killing man. That is the crux of the arm. Take him away. I have to go. My brother, thank you. The woman has sent. It's not Muslims killing Muslims, Jews killing Muslims, Muslims killing Jews. It is man killing man on the basis of ideology, belief. One arrogance, the belief that one is superior to the other. But let me highlight this. The wars we see around the world, they are not religious wars. Of course we have it played out, Jews versus Muslims in Palestine. Palestinians don't hate Jews because they're Jewish. The conflict in Palestine is about land. It is about a Zionist invasion. It is about a Zionism supported by Western imperialism. Let's deal with the crux of it. I asked you earlier, who was Jewish? We had a man at the back there. Many of you are Muslims and Christians. But look at your faith. Adam and Eve is not just in the Quran. It's in the Torah. It's in the Bible. Christians acknowledge Adam and Eve. Muslims acknowledge Adam and Eve. Christians acknowledge Adam and Eve. Jews recognize Abraham. Muslims recognize Abraham. Christians recognize Abraham. Jews acknowledge Moses. Christians Christians acknowledge Moses. Muslims acknowledge Moses. If you go to the crux and the base of what it is, you are all worshipping the same God. This is not religious. These conflicts are not religious. They're about land, imperialism. Look at the West invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Libya. How is it? As soon as the people of Libya fight back, they will be called terrorists, Muslim terrorists. When the people of Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan fight back against imperialism, it is not labeled as people fighting a war against imperialism. It is seen as Muslim terrorists, Muslim extremists fighting against freedom and democracy. What freedom are you exporting abroad? Let me ask this general question to you Europeans or Westerners in the audience. Tell me, sir, what are Western forces doing in Afghanistan?
Slaughtering thousands of people, including civilians.
It says they are slaughtering thousands of people, including civilians. You know, so, sir, what are the West doing in Afghanistan? Okay.
That's not true
He
either.
says he can't talk about Afghanistan, but talking about Libya, it looks like the West trying to support the people against who? Against a dictator. Against a dictator, he says. Sir, can you tell me the name of one democracy in the Middle East? Sir, can you tell me the name of one? Israel. How can you claim Israel to be a democracy where Israel has expelled almost 3 million Palestinians from the right to vote? Is that democracy? My friend, sir, we're going to a state of Libya. He says let's stay on Libya.
Yeah.
Okay. You say Libya. The point of my question was, that Libya, yes, is a dictatorship, but so too are also all the other Arab Muslim leaderships. America has no problem with Saudi Arabia. America has no problem with Bahrain. America has no problem with Kuwait, Qatar, even Egypt under Mubarak, because these were dictators that supported America's agenda. So it's not about being a dictator. In fact, the first democracy in the Middle East was in Iran. 1951. Mohammed Mossadegh, democratically elected by the people, for the people. Who overthrew Mohammed Mossadegh? It was America and Britain. They overthrew Mohammed Mossadegh because Mohammed Mossadegh wanted to nationalize the wealth, the oil of Iran to benefit the Iranian people. So let's not talk about democracy. I'm going to get to you, Libya. I'm going to get back to you. In the Congo, the first democratically elected leader, Patrice Lumumba, democratically elected, overthrown by who? The CIA. In Chile, 1973, Salvador Allende, democratically elected by the people, overthrown by who? The CIA. Benz, Trujillo, we could go through a list of democratically elected leaders who were overthrown by the West, by the CIA. So let's not talk about democracy or dictatorship. It doesn't wash. Now in Libya, sir, you say the West are defending the people. Who are the people? Who are the people? Who are the people? The Libyan uprising is different to that of Tunisia, different to that of Egypt. Let me highlight something for you. When the people rose up in Tunisia, they called it what? A protest. The people's protest. When they rose up in Egypt, it was called protest. When they rose up in Yemen, it was called protest. When they rose up in Bahrain, protest. Saudi Arabia, protest. Libya, rebellion. Rebel. Why are they called rebels and not protesters? Because rebels are armed. Now, on the first day of the uprising in Libya, on the 15th of February, when the uprising started, the people were protesting not to get rid of Gaddafi. They were protesting about better housing, more housing for the youth. They were protesting for freedom of expression. It was against the government. They were protesting like you have here protest, the student protest. There is a difference though. What do you think would have happened to the student protests in Britain if a foreign nation began to arm some of these students? Don't you think it would have been bloody? Don't you think that the students had the majority of the population against the government? Don't you think we could have had an uprising in this country? Don't you think we could have deserved a no-fly zone here? I'm saying to you, on the 15th of February, and this was reported by Al Jazeera. This was reported by Al Jazeera. The first day's reporting by Al Jazeera said 15 people had been killed. And Al Jazeera's report stated that 11 of them were policemen. What does that tell us? It tells us they were armed. I've just returned from Libya, no more than 6 weeks ago. No more than 6 weeks ago. I was in Tajura, Beshlun, Al-Fukajuma, Zawiya, Zawara. My friend, let me tell you that what you've been listening to is nothing more nor less than Western war propaganda. I'm not saying that Gaddafi is not a dictator. I believe Gaddafi should have stepped aside a long time ago. We can even see corruption in the Gaddafi government. We have seen big houses that him and his family buys abroad. But put Libya into context of Africa, because you're just ignorant. You don't know nothing about Africa or the Middle East. Nothing. All you know is what BBC tells you. Sky News, CNN, Fox. Put Libya into context of Africa. In 1951, Libya was the poorest country in the world. In 1951, Libya was the poorest country in the world. Before the Western invasion, Libya had the highest standard of living in Africa. They had the fastest growing GDP of 10.6%. They had free healthcare, free education, social housing. What happened? You motherfuckers invaded. That's what fucking happened. The motherfuckers have what happened. That's what happened. The invasion has crippled the economy of Libya. That is the reality. Women's rights. Women's rights in Libya were beyond any of those other Muslim countries. Beyond. Beyond. So what is it you are fighting against? My friend, look at it. The uprising started on the 15th of February. I sat down with Khalid Kayam, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Libya. And he explained the timeline of events that took place in Libya. On the 15th of February, they had the protest. 15th. On the 20th, by the 26th, just over 10 days later, the UN passes Resolution 1970. On the same day, the 26th of February, all of the embassies withdraw from Libya without giving the Libyan government any notice. Days later, 6 SAS, British SAS soldiers and 2 MI6 agents are captured in Benghazi. That does not tell us, sir, that this protest was organic, that this protest was led by the people. What happened in Libya was by design. Western governments have taken advantage, using Tunisia and Egypt as a smokescreen to remove those leaders in the Middle East whom they don't like. In Bahrain, in one weekend, they killed over 250 people. In one weekend, where was the ICC? Where was the United Nations? Where was the no-fly zone? Where was Al Jazeera? Where were they? Where were they? My friends, I'm saying to you, sir, what's been taking place in Libya was by design. And if you look at the narrative, America excused Mubarak in Egypt. America excused Saudi Arabia. America excused Bahrain. America excused Yemen. But the true enemies that the West are focused on is Libya and Syria. Assad and Gaddafi. The two thorns in the side of not just America, but Israel also. Look at it. The conflict in Libya is by design. So don't bring up Libya and say, oh, the Western governments are trying to help the Libyan people.
What is the design?
In Libya, we met with some of the tribes, tribal elders. We met with one individual. I think it's the Wafala tribe. I can't remember the name of the tribe. It's one of the largest tribes. Wafala, that's right. Wafala tribe. They have almost 2 million members of their clan. That is 1/3 of the Libyan population. I ask you this. What tribe support the uprising in Benghazi? Apart from those who are loyalists to Idris.
No one.
Who?
No one.
Who can the rebels say are their tribal elders?
No.
All you have are an armed bunch of rebels and people who, yes, have gripes against Gaddafi. I don't want to take that away.
Excuse me.
But we have a revolution, a civil war, which has been orchestrated from the West. I'm going to get to you, my brother. The African Union went out to Libya.
Excuse me, can I
They
have
organized a peace treaty. They organized they wanted to organize a ceasefire. They organized that Gaddafi would step down in 4 years. They organized that there will be reform, governmental reform. They organized that there will be better freedom of speech, freedom of expression. They organized an amnesty that if the rebels put down their weapons, no matter who has been killed, who killed who, there was an amnesty so no one there will be no one searching for them. That was a great offer. As soon as the African Union went to the other side in Benghazi, it wasn't the rebels who just refused. It was NATO, it was Britain, it was France who said we'll accept no compromise until Gaddafi leaves. Who the fuck are the British to negotiate with the Libyan people? This is what we're talking about. And my friend, I don't blame you. Because you receive your education from BBC, Sky News, CNN. Where do you get your information from? Where do you frame your knowledge? Let's hope he doesn't. If he did, he wouldn't have that point of view. The Russian television station is the only station which has given a balanced narrative to this conflict in Libya. My friend, I put it to you that you are educated by the BBC, Sky News, Fox, CNN.
Excuse me.
Sorry? You're not from Britain. Well, wherever your media are from, they're all the same. They're all informing their viewers of the same thing. Where are you from, sir?
Excuse me, I have a
What
question.
would I recommend? I would recommend you watch RT News, Russian television news. Now, at the outset of the uprising, the Western government was saying that Gaddafi forces had bombed civilians. They said that's how they managed to get the revolution. I'm going to get you. Allow me to round up and I'm going to get you. I'm going to round you round up and I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you, sir, and him. Him first, you next. Resolution 1973 was passed on the basis that Gaddafi had bombed his civilians. And the Western media spread this right across all the media. It was only Russian television news who came out and said Russian satellites have been observing the situation in Libya and they have seen no evidence from their satellites that bombs had been dropped. That is damning evidence. The Russians said from their satellites they've seen no evidence. Now, if you look at the media said that Gaddafi was bombing civilians. Let me take you back a little while. All you have to do if you really believe that Gaddafi was bombing civilians, how do we know what was going on in Iran, Tunisia, Egypt? People filmed it on their mobile phones. It was filmed on people's mobile phones. That is the new technology which makes every one of us here today journalists. We all have cameras in our pockets. Look around you, some are filming right now.
Yeah.
Now, all you have to do is log on to your Google search engine. Some of you can do that right now. And type into your Google search engine, civilian bombing in Libya. You will find absolutely nothing. There was no evidence. However, if you type in your same Google search engine, civilian bombings in Fallujah 2006. You will see the bodies, the mayhem, the destruction, the murder, everything. You type in your Google search engine, civilian bombings in Lebanon 2006. You will see the destruction, the murder, the mayhem, the death, the buildings destroyed. Type in your Google search engine, Gaza, civilian bombing Gaza 2008. You will see the evidence. Type in your Google search engine, Palestine. You will see civilian killings and bombings in Palestine. You will see the evidence. Where was the evidence? Only there is evidence of the Ishmahil. It was propaganda. Yes, sir.
Did you remember, let's take you back a little bit before the United Nations took over Libya?
Yes.
Gaddafi had a speech where he said, we're going to kill all of them.
No, he did not.
Listen. I heard you. Everybody heard that in Arabic language. Maybe
no, he did not.
Maybe you don't speak the language.
He says that Gaddafi said he's going to kill all of them. He said he's going to kill the cockroaches.
Yeah.
He's going to kill the cockroaches. Yes.
He said we go to get them house to house. Street.
That's right.
Not to corner.
That's right.
We're going to kill all of them.
That's right. All the cockroaches.
That is before the United Nations taking action in Libya.
That's right.
So there is no evidence.
Oh,
Excuse
me, sir.
Second question.
Let me ask you a first one first. He said he's going to go door to door, house to house. And he said originally that Gaddafi said he's going to kill all of them. No, he never said that. He said we're going to kill the cockroaches. And we will go door to door. Hold on, sir. We will go door to door, house to house. The Western media translated that as Gaddafi said he's going to kill all the civilians. There's a difference. Who are the cockroaches? The cockroaches were the rebels. That's who he meant. Now, weeks later, hold on, sir, allow me. Weeks later, the rebels made advances upon Misrata. The rebels said, we're going to clear the city of all the rats. When they said that, the media didn't suggest that they were going to kill all civilians. Who are the rats? The rats were pro-Gaddafi forces. But no one mistook what the rebels were saying there. But it's funny how your intelligence is very selective. One moment you're stupid, one moment you're intelligent.
Second thing you said, America they go to more Arabic leader, they don't lie. So what, when you mentioned...
Sorry, America said?
America, they want to leave Arabic leaders, they don't really like it.
They want to, I don't understand your point.
So America, the West End, they want to move the Arabic leaders, who's not really good for America.
So yes.
So, when at the same time you mentioned Gaddafi, he's a dictator. He's a communist dictator?
A socialist.
All right.
He's a socialist, just like how Saddam Hussein was a socialist. Just like how the Ba'athists throughout Syria and right through the Middle East are socialists. Now, what do you have? You want to say communist and twist it from communist to socialist simply because you know of the residual effect that the word communism has on people. They were socialists. Gaddafi led a socialist revolution, and that's why he wrote the Green Book. My friend, what are you trying to say? Saddam Hussein was a socialist.
I'm trying to say there is agenda behind you and everybody, not because you support the Libyan people, not because you are like a Muslim.
Sorry, sir, what are you trying to say? Man, you're like a Muslim.
There's a communist agenda behind you guys.
There's a communist agenda. Sir, Gaddafi seized power in 1969. 69! They've led a socialist revolution since 1969, which has brought Libya, might I add, to having the highest standard of living in Africa. Now, when we go on, sir, I am not debating the ideology of socialism or capitalism. Under Saddam Hussein, prior to the invasion of Iran, prior to the Iraqi invasion of Iran in 1980, Iraq had one of the highest standards of living throughout the Middle East. You had the highest educated doctors, lawyers, engineers. You were exporting, hold on, sir. You exported doctors and engineers. In fact, by 1980, even after the war, poor people of Iraq were still eating chicken. That is a luxury. My friend, I'm not championing socialism or capitalism. I'm simply saying to you, if you want to pick up the ideology of the individual, look at what you achieved.
That's a correct information.
Please do.
1980, Saddam wasn't really a president of Iraq. So there was this one, it's not the Saddam regime.
Either or.
Yeah.
Either or.
I'm not British.
Either or.
Saddam regime.
Either or.
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein, the Baathists there were trained, armed, backed, financed by the West.
Okay, what is the...
Now, yes, sir, your question.
My question, who are these rebellions and what are they fighting for?
Sorry?
Who are these rebellions in Sorry about my voice. Who are these rebellions in Libya? What are they
Who
fighting
are
for?
the rebels and what are they fighting for?
Yeah.
There are so many different
And they
points.
are
Libyans.
Libyans.
Sir, the
They are
fucking
Libyans.
Libyans. Sir, you have seen many of the Libyan rebels now reignite the flag of King Idris. Red, black, and green. That is the flag of the royal family. So we have the element of the royalists. They were always marginalized. If you go back to Libya by 1911, you always had these almost two de facto capitals existing, Benghazi and Tripoli. So you have the tribal elements at play. So there are people within a portion of the region of the East who may very well, not like Gaddafi, not like they call it. We have seen people, primarily those from the East. You've seen people from Gaddafi's government abandon the government and cross over to the other side. Who are these individuals? Many of them have their roots in the East. So their loyalties are tribal or cultural to that region.
So what's wrong?
Some might say nothing. But I say there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
What I'm saying to you is, these issues exist right here in Britain. In Britain, in the United Kingdom, the United Kingdom is made up of England, Scotland, Wales. England, Scotland, and Wales. The Scottish want to break away from the British. The Welsh want to be able to speak their own language. What do you think would happen if some foreign government decided to arm the Welsh or arm the Scottish? And then just an incident happens whereby an English policeman kills a Scot. And the Scottish people come out in protest. Some of them have guns. That's how the IRA started. That's why we had a campaign of terror where the Irish were bombing Britain for 30 years. Now when? Perhaps this is just poetic justice for Libya. Because when the Irish, the IRA, were fighting against the British, it is well known that Gaddafi supported them with arms, with Semtex. That's not too bad, because the main supporters of the IRA were the Americans. The Americans were the main financiers and backers of the Irish campaign against the British. My friends, let's be honest, he raised a point there. And his point of view is very important. It's wrong, but it's important because the majority of the public think like that. Why do they think like that? Because they are ill-informed. Propaganda by the media. How many times have you seen on the BBC a representative of the Libyan government being given the time to talk to the people and explain what's going on? They don't give them any fair time. Sir, I monitor the media. I'm a journalist.
Me too.
I'm a journalist.
You're a journalist.
Sir!
You are a journalist.
No.
Sir!
But I follow.
My television is on BBC News 24 hours. And I monitor the amount of anti-war points of view that are being presented. For the government. When the rebels claim Gaddafi's killed civilians here, why don't they give the Libyan government the opportunity to rebut them? But they don't want the Libyan government to have any oxygen amongst the public. However, the Israelis shoot down Palestinians. Recently, the Palestinians gathered on the Syrian border.
That's it.
On the Lebanese border. On the Gazan border. In one day, the Israelis shot down 14. Did the Western media allow the protesters to have a point of view? No. They gave us every Israeli spokesperson under the sun. They gave us every Israeli spokesperson. So the Israelis are given the airtime, the propaganda time, to win you over, the public. But the Palestinian protesters are never given any airtime. This is the subtlety of propaganda. It's propaganda, but we don't question it. When we see someone on television, that person is in our homes. Now the average person is apolitical. Joe Public isn't really concerned about politics. They're concerned about Paris Hilton. They're concerned about Victoria Beckham. They're concerned about where they're going clubbing or where they're going to go to for a drink on a Friday and a Saturday night. So when this information comes to them from the respected BBC or other news associations, the public buy the news without questioning the legitimacy of the content. This is the problem we are in. Protest has been stifled, and that's why I was so proud when the students came out on the streets and began to march and demand their rights. Yes, it is stifled, but it is that public protest that we need right now. In Africa, whilst the West were bombing Libya, the French were bombing the Ivory Coast, backed up by the United Nations. The United Nations has now become an arm of NATO, an arm of Western imperialism. The United Nations is nothing but a rubber stamp for Western policy. And how do they do it? Because the United Nations represents the world. Let me tell you. Recently you've heard David Cameron say we're going to increase our aid budget. Roy Shaw, how are you, my brother? Here we have a legend of Speaker's Corner. A legend of Speaker's Corner, Roy Shaw, a man who also inspired me to speak, a man who also influenced my style. So I'm glad to see you, Roy. Yes, my brother. Legend. Amazing, man. Why you just stopped me?
That's amazing.
You just thrown me.
I have to say hello. You need a rest.
Man, it's good to see you, Roy.
Definitely.
Where was I? How did they do it? Where was I? It's how do they do it with the United Nations? How is the United Nations become a rubber stamp? Simple. You've heard David Cameron talk about we have to increase our overseas aid budget. Why would all of these nations, who are in the time of global economic crisis, be talking about increasing their aid budgets? Why is America, in the crisis it's in, talking about increasing its aid budget? Why is Britain talking about increasing its aid budget? Simple. Because they ply all of these so-called developing countries with aid. They are dependent upon that aid. And any time they go against the grain of Western opinion, they are threatened that they will lose their aid. Don't you remember what happened in Libya, in Iraq? Resolution 1441? The French were opposed to it. Nations were opposed to it. The Americans knew they would not pass the resolution, so they went behind the scenes. As Piers Morgan from the Daily Mirror said,